Barakata Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Nothing Stays the Same, All Things Return to Their Origin. Now, I'm not hearing any sound, so let me know if anyone can hear me. Let me know. Oh, sounds good. Okay, Tawada. Just there's nothing coming up on this. Just bear with me 1 second. Been having problems with this as of late. Oh, well, there it goes. That'll do it. My speaker was off, actually. Oh, well, there it goes. All right, so Salaki for that. Let's start again. Barakatah Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. This one's called Nothing Stays the Same, All Things Return to Their Origin. And pretty much this is inspired by something I was thinking about a little while ago. Just nothing major, nothing serious, just, just doing a little memory lane, just thinking about, the old hood, and, just different places in the hood that, that are no longer there, pretty much. You had certain projects that have been moved out of the way. There was some real, I'm talking about going back to the 80s, there was a lot of murder projects, you could call them, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I grew up at, and pretty much a lot of those places are not there anymore. And at one time, they were a force to be reckoned with, so to speak. They were, the talk of the town. Some of these places were places where people hung out, and just either had block parties or, whatever the case may be, or just, played cards or whatever Jake was doing back then. So you had some good memories and some bad memories, and as I go through these different neighborhoods now, I notice a lot of those projects are gone, and pretty much it got me to thinking about, something called change. As you see right here, change is ahead. And when we look up the word change, it means make someone or something different, alter or modify. And pretty much that's what we're about to witness right now. And we're witnessing the beginning stages of change to the world. And the major change that has to take place is rulerships. There is a particular person that's ruling on the planet right now that has to be taken out. Let's start off real quick with the book of Psalms 75. And then we'll get this other one, and then we'll start I jotted down a couple of precepts. Scripture came to mind. Lord's will, we can get into it, if the Spirit allows. When I thought about that whole dynamic, it may not seem like anything to anyone else. I just saw a thought that I was entertaining in my mind, about these different places that at once were thriving. They were the place to be. They were, everyone knew about it. When you came to a particular hood, you knew about certain places that people would go to, or certain places that had a certain reputation. And now those places are no longer there. So I'm looking at it in a sense of empires, but that's a smaller scale, but on a sense of these empires. So Psalm 75:5, it says, "Lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. For promotion cometh not from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south." Right. A promotion is to elevate from one position to the next. So that doesn't come by way of, you know, judging, voting, or should I say not judging, but voting, you know, wishing somebody to be into a particular place, you know, buying your way into that particular place. It says, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So the Most High, Yahweh, is the one that's doing these things. He's the one that sets up a particular empire. He takes down empires. So these empires, you could say, are nothing more than what they call a fleeting moment. Right? Fleeting moment definition. Fleeting moment definition. Fleeting is used to describe something which lasts only for a very short time. So these empires are nothing but fleeting moments, although they are there for a period of time. Let's see. Let me get something real quick. And all of these empires, believe it or not, at one time or another, they believed that they would never fall. And guess what? They all came to their end. Right here, Revelation 17:10. And there are 7 kings. These are the 7 major empires of Esau, beginning with the Greeks and ending with the British. 5 are fallen. At the time of the Roman Empire, they were in subjugation underneath the Roman Empire. It says, and the one that was the one that was in the vision of John, which was the Roman Empire. And the other is not yet come. The one that is not yet come is what? The British Empire. And when he cometh, he must continue what? A short space. So although they ruled for a certain period of time, and although they're still calling the shots behind the scenes, as a world empire, they're not on, you know, that they don't have that prestige that they did at one time. You see? So everything is but a fleeting moment in these empires. That's why the Apostle Paul said, let's go real quick to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. What are the things which are seen? The pride of life, you know, the so-called American dream, you know, the so-called, you know, the so-called religious system setups, the social, you know, construct of society, you know, the monetary system, you know, business, so on and so forth, you know, a way of life in this society. The things which are seen, we don't look at those things because although we live among them, we're not focused on trying to achieve them. We just get what we have to get in order to survive. But at the things which are not seen, what are the things which are not seen? The kingdom of heaven. For the things which are seen are temporal, right? So the things that we see are only temporary. It is but a fleeting moment. But the things which are not seen are eternal, right? Because the kingdom of heaven is eternal. And although we don't see it with our physical eyes, with our mental eyes, we can perceive it because of what's written in the scriptures and the, you know, bit of imagination that the Lord has, spiritual imagination that the Lord has given us. So let's look up this word temporal. So that's like these empires. They're nothing but fleeting moments. You know, a time and chance that happens to all men, as it says in Ecclesiastes. So the word temporal, we look it up, it's the word proskahiros. It says for a season, see, enduring only for a while. Temporary, we just read fleeting moment. Fleeting is used to describe something which lasts only for a very short time. So their power structure is only temporary. It's only but a fleeting moment. It's temporary. Let's go real quick to Revelation chapter 20. You know, so although they seem like they're digging in, they're building, they're prospering, their plans seem to be going, you know, forward, it is but a fleeting moment. I don't know why I put Revelation 20. Meant to put Job. chapter 20 and verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short? See the brother, check that out. The brother had just put this up. Beautiful. Brother Dark Matter put it up. The triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Let's look up the word short, and let's look up the word moment. Like I said, it may not hit everybody that's the way it was hitting me, but it was just, like I said, a thought that I had just based off of, my childhood, where I grew up, the places that were, booming at the time. They were, very popular, and they're no longer there. From projects to different clubs that they had back then, bars, whatever, different places where people would go hang out, even different arcades that they had back then. They don't even do the arcades no more. You had the machines, that you put your quarters in, and you would play a game of Galaga or a game of Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man or Asteroids or whatever, the Donkey Kong. You actually used to have places. I mean, I'm pretty sure they still have them. You have places where you can go and actually play these games. That's but a fleeting moment. There's no longer something that people do, and the places where these things were played at or done or people visited are no longer there. And it's just like these empires of today. So the word for short is kwarawab, near, of place, of time, personal relationship, kinship. Right, short meaning of place, because they're only going to last for a brief moment. All right, now going back, the triumphing of the wicked is short. So the connection and the relationship of triumph with the wicked is pretty much very short. It's not going to last. Yeah, they got it now, but guess what? When you look at it with a spiritual eye, you see them falling. Yeah, the brother said different malls, and another brother said, I remember those games. Yeah. So it's they're eventually going to fall, because it's like a fad. If you know anything about a fad, you have fashions, you have fads, you have those that last, and you have those that don't last. Like you have classics, you have untimely classics, and you have those that are popular at the time, like a fad, whether it's a song, whether it's a clothing, whether shoes or jeans or slacks or shirts or, hats. It's a fad. So they come and they go. It's just like the empires of this world. They're like a fashion and a fad, but they just last a little longer. So it says the triumphing of the wicked, of the hypocrite, but for a moment, right? Because not only are they the wicked, they're also the hypocrite, because they established this society upon so-called quote unquote Christian principles. But when you actually analyze, the way that they conduct themselves and operate, they don't operate under the instruction book or the guidelines that were set by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Why? Because it's not in them to do it. Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly. And we not behold the majesty of the Lord. Ragai, for the word moment, a moment, for a moment, at one moment, at another moment, in a moment, suddenly. And this is a heavy word, because suddenly is one of the words that, Lord's will, if we can get into it, this is one of the scriptures, main scriptures that popped in my head when that train of thought was going through my mind, was Isaiah 47. How these devils never think they're going down, but the Lord said that they're suddenly going to be taken out. So now going back, let's read this again. The triumphing of the wicked, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. So they're not going to be able to wear that hat, so to speak, anymore of triumph, because Yahushua is coming to smack, that crown off of their head. Beautiful. Yeah, you brothers are sharp. 1 Corinthians 7:31. And they that use this world as not abusing it, For the fashion of this world passeth away. It's but a fleeting moment, my dear Watson. All right, so 2 Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, because the main question in the mind of the prophets, in the mind of the disciples, in the mind of the men of the Lord is, when are these things going to come to an end? Even Ezra asked the question. He said, is there more past than is to come? Because when you search the scriptures, the prophet's main thing was, when is the Lord going to come to suffer so that the kingdom can be established? And in most people's minds, the whole idea of the Lord suffering was right after he suffered, instantly the kingdom of heaven will come. But that's not the case, because it's been 2,000 years and it hasn't happened yet. But we're at the point now where everything is in place and everything is moving forward. Okay. So then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Right. What is going to part the times asunder? What is the separation? What is the ending point and the beginning point? Because in order for one to rule, the other one must fall down. Two kings cannot sit on one throne. All right. It says, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Because they all knew that there was a kingdom that was to come, and the kingdom that was to come would be the kingdom of Yahushai / Israel. Right. This is a good precept that Brother Bakwar Muff put up. 2 Ezra 4:35. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers? Right. Saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? Yeah. Because the scriptures also say that hope deferred maketh the heart sick. When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? Right. Because anyone that works, they get a reward. And I'll say shalom, Yahweh Shemel Shai Barak Thumb, to any of the apostles, elder bishops, elders, brothers, sincere men out there that are listening and watching, and shalom to you sincere sisters. It says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. And this is the beginning stages of the war between good and evil. Even though it goes all the way back to the garden, the cement, and the origins of the battle between good and evil began here, after the flood, should we say. Jacob and Esau, with their birth, when they were born, that began the end of the world, that ushered in the fight between good and evil. And this is why they had such a struggle in the womb, because that struggle in the womb, no other woman really had gone through that at that time, before that time, or after that time. Why? Because that is this ongoing battle between good and evil that's waged on the world today, that we're seeing going on to this very day. And it's very evil. It's a very evil time. They are very evil people. And although Jake is in a effed up situation, they're in a evil position themselves, and there's a lot of wicked among our people, but for the most part, we are the righteous. And this is why when Israelites get to a certain point, they start having regrets, because they grow a conscience because of who they are in the spirit. These devils don't grow a conscience. If they don't do wickedness, they cannot rest, because their whole energy comes off of the left-hand side of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is the side of the evil. Yeah, it's a spiritual war. And that spiritual war is seen within our own selves. The battle between the spirit and the flesh. The flesh is the evil, the spirit is the righteous. And they're constantly fighting against each other. Sometimes the spirit wins, sometimes the flesh wins. But ultimately we're striving so that the spirit could win all the time. And that's why we're waiting for our change. So it says, for Esau is what? The end of the world. Now, when you look up this word world here, it goes back to the Latin word seculi, right? Which is synonymous with the Greek word eon, which is synonymous with the Hebrew word iwalam, which means an age or an uninterrupted rule, a certain portion of time allotted to one nation to rule. You know, a certain portion of time allotted for something to exist. You know, like even among fads, they have an age. Some fads last a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of years, you know. Some might last a little longer, but eventually they come and they go. It says, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, because once Jacob gets into power, we know that the kingdom of heaven is established. And once Jacob gets in trouble, we know, in rulership, we know that the world is going to be judged under better circumstances, under righteous rules, because the wicked are ruling right now. And when the wicked are ruling, the world is in mourning. When the righteous rule, the world is joyful. And that's not happening. The world is not joyful. The people that are ruling are the Edomites, so-called white people, beginning with the small hats, you know, and others. But they are the main, that's Amalek, you know, and we see how the world is running. And everything in the scriptures prophetically point to the last rulers of this world to be the Edomites. It points at them as being the wicked. It points at them as being the last rulers. It points at them as being the ones that the Lord is going to, you know, visit when he comes back to destroy. So there's no way around it. And this is why they're so adamant in pushing the madness that they're pushing, the slanders and all of that, because they're trying to discredit the truth. But you cannot discredit the truth. You could discredit a man, but you could never discredit truth. Truth will stand as truth no matter how much the person that's bringing it out can be, you know, demonized. The truth never, you know, alters from its pure state. All right, so let's get a couple of these precepts that I got written down, and then Lord's will, if we have time, we'll get into Isaiah 47. So let's go to start off at Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I like going here because this scripture here kind of nails it in the head, you know, as far as everything, you know, is concerned with judgments and times and things of that nature. Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So everything has a purpose. Everything has a season. Like it says later on in these chapters, time and chance happeneth to all men. Every nation on the planet Earth cannot say that they didn't have a chance or a time to rule. They've all had their time to rule. Now it's come to the end. This is the end of the road for you devils. And now this is the end of the road for you devils and the beginning of the road for the Israelites. All right. Verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down. And what's happening right now is the Most High is breaking down, destructuring Esau's system, his society, and a time to build up. And what's the time to build up? The time to build up is the kingdom of heaven that's being built up in the midst and in the sight of all these different nations, including the ones that are in rulership. And all they can do is ridicule. All they can do is demonize, you know, but they cannot alter it. They cannot stop it. It's like a juggernaut. When a juggernaut gets in motion, all it does is it absorbs more and more energy moving forward. And anything that gets in his way, it absorbs that energy into that forward motion. And that's what we see right now, the forward motion of the truth. That's a lesson right there. I could think of a brother that might grab that one. It says, verse, Salakia, just having a little dovish moment here. Verse 6, a time to get and a time to lose, right? And it's our time to get and it's their time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. So Esau is being casted away now. you know, but it's going through a process, you know. You got to remember, the Lord can snap his finger and take these devils out overnight. But this is something that's been in motion and in building going back, 700 plus years, you know, to the 1400s, you know, about 600-700 years. So they've been building, but the Lord said He's gonna throw down. So now let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Psalms, the 102nd chapter, and the 25th verse. It says, "Of old hast thou laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands." Right. And as the Lord laid down the foundations of the heavens of the earth, guess what? He also set up the rulers. The brother put the scripture here earlier. I don't remember who the brother was, but he put, I believe it's either Proverbs 21:1 or 16:1. Let's see. Proverbs 21:1. "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will." So all of these nations that have ruled, they didn't rule because they just had this presence of mind to rule. No, the Lord put the spirit in them to have that thought, but also gave them the ability to take over the empires that were before them by either giving them a skilled artificer or smith to build certain types of weapons, or whatever the case may be, or a so-called general, you know, or military man among them that gave them open their mind to be able to give them the proper strategy to be able to take down a particular empire, you know. But it was all of the Lord. He's the one that gave them the inspiration for all of these things. Proverbs 16:1, I believe, another one. Yep. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. And so is everything else. That's why it says that promotion cometh neither from the east nor from the west, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. And in the case where we're in now, the ones that are in power now are the ones that are the basis of men. You have to think about that. The power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to take this nobody that was grunting in the caves. You know, they didn't even have they couldn't even speak properly. They were walking around in loincloths and you know, and just in a beastly state. To take them from that beastly state and set them up to the position where they're at today, to where the whole world is groveling at their feet. When at one time they couldn't even stand up straight or speak right. That shows you the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it's not a marvel if he could take us from the low condition that we're in, you know, in the hoods, you know, drug addicts, you know, drug dealers, you know, prostitutes, pimps, whatever. In the conditions that our people are in, the low state that we're in today, that thugged out, bugged out state, and set us back up into power. He could take a nothing, a nobody, and clean them up and set them up as rulers of the earth. How much more us that are the holy people of the Lord? Take us from this low condition and elevate us back up to that regal position where we belong at. It ain't hard to tell. Inside joke. Yep, this is brother quoted the movie Lawnmower Man, right? Because the man in the movie's name was Job, and he was, you know, in a pretty much slightly retarded, slow spirit. But then, through the knowledge that was injected into the veins of his mind, Salak, I'm being a little animated, he was able to elevate from that docile state to a regal position. And you saw how he acted from the point that he was, when he first was introduced in the movie, to where he was full of that knowledge and wisdom that was given to him, the two differences between the man, as far as night is from day. Those of you that saw the movie. So going back to Psalms 102 and 26, it says, they shall perish, meaning what? The foundations of the earth, the works of the hands of the Lord on the earth, in the heavens, meaning the establishments, the rulerships that are here. They're going to wax old. They shall perish, but thou shalt endure. Yea, all of them shall wax old like a garment. Right. And what do you do when you have an old garment? I mean, sometimes I would use them for work or for work to work out. But for the most part, if you had something that had holes in it, you usually threw it away. You know? And that's how the Lord is going to do. He's going to throw this world away, but not the world in general. As a vesture shall thou change them, right? And they shall be what? Changed. So when we look up this word, change, the word there is chalap, to pass on or away, pass through, pass by, go through, grow up, change, to go on from, let me see, to come on anew, right? Sprout again. You see? And that's what's happening. It's going to be a re-sprouting, you know, to come anew, to be pretty much to be refreshed right here, to change, substitute, alter, right? Because this world has to be altered from the way it's being run, because obviously the way it's being run is not proper. Because if it was proper, you would not see the things in the condition that they're in. How many people today have cancer and all different types of sicknesses, from the clothing that they wear to the things that they, bathe themselves with, wash their hair with, the foods that they eat, the water that they drink, the air that they breathe, the microplastics in these different, containers, plastic containers, that you either drinking from or eating from. So everything has to be altered, changed. Change for what? For better. Renew. And pretty much to refresh. All right? So that's what's happening. Everything is being refreshed. So now let's go from there to the book of 2 Peter. I was going to just go straight to the point, but this chapter here is dynamite. Couldn't find any other word for it. But let's start. I'm going to just try to breeze through it a little bit. Lord's will. 2 Peter 3:3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts. We're in the last days. You have scoffers, and they are walking after their own lusts. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? Yeah, because that's the scoffing thing. Well, y'all have been saying this for how long, and it still ain't happened yet? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. Right, because Esau's still in power. And seeing that they don't have a spiritual mind, they can't perceive that, or even that they can't perceive spiritually that this kingdom is crumbling right in front of their eyes. For this they willingly are ignorant of, right? Because they read in the same Bible, if they're reading at all, they see how the Lord did things in the past, and how there were different empires in the past, and how the old world was so wicked that the Most High destroyed it by a flood, and how all of these different empires that came up that were very prominent and very, and had a strong military and great riches, how they came to nothing, and then their riches and their power was absorbed into the next empire. It says that by the word of the Most High, the heavens were of old, right? Which means heavens was. It's not talking about outer space or where the Most High is at. It's talking about the rulerships of the planet and the earth standing out of the water and in the waters, right? Because that's how the Lord destroyed the first world. And that was the first death, the flood. Whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished, right? So you have to either be a clown, a bug out, or blinded by the Lord, which if you're in any of those, you're blinded by the Lord anyway, not to be able to perceive that the ancient world perished because the Most High was not pleased with the way man was ruling and operating in the earth back then. So how much more now that the world is much more wicked, as the Lord told Ezra, the world would be much more wicked as it aged. You have to be an idiot or blinded or both not to be able to see that the direction that the earth today and the world today is going in. It says, but the heavens and the earth which are now by the same word are kept in store, right? Because they're being stored. This is why when you have something in storage, it's protected. So the Lord is protecting this world because he has a purpose for it. It says reserved. See, there's a reservation. Esau, you got a special reservation. Unto fire. So they're being reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. This is why the Lord said through the mouth of Paul, it pleased the Lord by the foolishness of preaching to save them which believe. Because technically what we do, everything that we're doing is really considered foolish. That's what the Lord said, that the foolish things of the Lord are wiser than men. So what we're doing and teaching his word, going out in the streets, sacrificing our time, our lives on the streets, that to the Lord, that's really foolish, because the Lord can snap his finger and make it all happen. But the thing is that the Lord don't want it like that. He's directing the movie. He likes the drama. He likes the different, scene changes and improvs and, because he's doing all of that. All right. Now, let's jump down. Let's jump down to the 11th verse. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, right? Because they were reserved unto judgment. That what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness? And these are the things that we should be speaking about. The end of the world. The direction that the MOTB is going in. What other information is there out there, concerning this digital currency? What's the latest on that? What's the latest on the CHIP? What direction is this world moving in financially? What is on the radar as far as these different wars and these different nations and their artillery, their weaponry? These are things we should be talking about. What's going on with the supply chain and the shortages and the diesel and the trucks and the goods being coming into the different grocery stores, so on and so forth, because that's the main concern. Fuel and food, the two F's. Because as they were saying, as far as clothing is concerned, there's no shortage in clothing, because most people are not really buying clothing like that. They're not really buying, stuff unless it's a phone or some type of new phone that come out or something like that. Something that goes along, accessory of a phone. But as far as food and fuel, those are the main two, because once that stops, there's a problem. Houston, we have a problem. So it says, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High. So if any brother or sister is not looking and hasting for the coming of the day of the Most High, then you have to question, what are you involved in? You have to question, what is your devotion? Because all we could think about is, when is the Lord going to take this place out and deliver us? That is our only thought in mind. Because we know that once this place goes down, the next comes. And when the next comes, it's going to be totally different from this. Everything is going to be righteous. Change is going to come. No more pain, no more stress, whether physical or spiritual. No more vexation, no more oppression. No more stupid demonic thoughts in our minds, whatever. Wherein the heavens being on fire, meaning Esau and the other nations' heavens, especially America, which is the heaven of the heavens of the earth. The top empire, the top kingdom of all these kingdoms, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And you see this time and time again when you watch different movies, knowing Judgment Day, the part 2, and other movies that they show you the wall of fire, nuclear fire, combing the streets, and the buildings just melting, the cars melting, all of the elements melting. It says, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, which is not a new heaven and a new earth. It's the same heaven and the same earth, but under new management. Because it says, the Apostle Paul said what? That we, according to what? According to his promise. So where does that go back to? Let's go to Isaiah 65. This is the link up. This is what we would call a link up. Isaiah 65 and 17. It says, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall be not be remembered, nor come into mind. Right, because this place is going to be erased. It's going to be totally annihilated. And the new talk of the town is going to be what? The kingdom of heaven. And it's going to be so spectabulous, that's spectacular and fabulous together, that even the greatest deliverance that the Heavenly Father ever did for any nation on the planet Earth, Egypt, ancient Egypt, is going to take a back seat to it. All right. Well, we're discussing the Bible here. All right. We ain't discussing many whatever. We're discussing the Bible here and the things that are going on in the world. You're welcome to listen. I don't know what your nationality is. I mean, based off of your avatar, you look like, but you may not be. I'll leave it like that. So you're welcome to listen. But if not, if you're trying to gain followers, you could keep it moving because, nobody's interested. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Right, so that's talking about this world today that's being ruled and governed by the Edomites, so-called white man, beginning with the small hats, that you can't talk about because you'll get a strike. Yep, as the brother said, that Greek word for new is kainos, which means fresh or to refresh. Right, that's right. All right, so now let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes 1 and 4, just to prove that the whole earth is not going to be destroyed. Ecclesiastes 1 and 4, one generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. It's just going to be under new management. Let's go from there to Psalms. Because when we read Ecclesiastes again in the same chapter we were in, the 3rd chapter, it says that we know that what the Most High doeth, it shall be forever. So once the Lord establishes something, it's forever. The only thing that the Lord is going to destroy completely are the Edomites. And he gave certain provisions within the law of certain things that were not going to continue, such as the Levitical priesthood. There are clauses within the law that states that the Levitical priesthood was going to be changed. Because we as a nation, all of the men were going to be priests, not just Levi. That was just their duty at the time to carry on until Shiloh came, which is Yahweh Shai, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So Psalms 115 and 15, it says, ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth. The heaven, and even the heavens are the Lord's. But the earth hath he given to the children of men, and the earth abideth forever. It's just going to be under new management. Revelation 21 and 1. This is after the destruction, after the diminishing of the old and the bringing in of the new. Revelation 21 and 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, which is what? Israel coming down to a refreshed earth, a cleansed earth, to be renewed, to start everything afresh, to start from scratch, as they say. For the first heaven and the first earth will pass away. That means the kingdoms of the heathen passed away. That's why Yahushua said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we're coming down to the end of the fulfillment of the empires of the heathen. Esau being the last in line, or last in succession of the line of these empires. All right? Esau is the end of the world. It says, and there was no more sea, because these nations are not going to be ruling anymore. It's not going to be a conglomeration of nations, everybody ruling, No, it's going to be one nation ruling. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and the Israelites. Now, after a period of 1,000 years, once Esau is totally annihilated, then the other nations will get their portions of land. They'll be able to govern among themselves, but they'll still be subject and tributary to us. And those are the cold, hard facts. So you could either accept it or you could deny it, but no matter what you do, you ain't going to change it. Goddamn devil worshippers. All right, so let's go to Isaiah 47. I'm going to start at 1, but I'm going to jump around. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. This is not speaking about ancient Babylon. This is speaking about modern day Babylon, which is America. And if you look at it, if the Lord opens up your eyes, you look at it with a spiritual eye. You read Revelation 18, one of the main scriptures dealing with Babylon the Great. It's not talking about ancient Babylon. It's not talking about a renewed Babylon over there in Iraq. It's talking about a place that's going to be established in these last days. And the nations of the world were going to partake of her philosophies, of her ways, and they were going to be made rich by selling their wares here through or via the way of these ships in the sea. And if you're being honest with yourself and not biased because, they're saying it, so I'm not going to accept it. If you being honest with yourself and you analyze, no other place on the planet Earth are people getting rich like they're getting rich off of America. America has become the number one consuming nation on the planet. All nations are selling their wares here, and all nations are making products in their country for pennies on a dollar, if I said that correctly, and sending them over here and selling them here and making great profit. That's why when this place is destroyed, all of the nations of the planet are going to be crying, not because they're going to feel sorry for the hoe, but because they ain't going to be making no more money. They're not going to be able to capitalize like they have been capitalizing over the years. And at one time it was profitable to come to America from these other nations, but now they're finding out that it's, better now that their countries have been elevated financially. It's better for them to go back to their countries, stay in their countries, live in their countries, and just sell their wares here in America. Because at one time, a lot of these nations were very poor. And it was more feasible for them, to come to the Americas, live here, get a better life. But now, as the prophecy states, all nations are going to flee back to their homes. And they're still making money off here. So when this place is destroyed, they're going to feel sorrow, not for the place itself, but because they won't be able to make any money. So it says, sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Right, sit in confusion. Because at one time you were able to do whatever. All right, dude. Satan got to do his thing. So goodbye. So this place now is being brought to confusion. Because everything around is collapsing. They're not going to be able to. There's not a stimulus package alive that they can put together to be able to restart and rekindle this dying hoe. This hoe is and America is in a hospice. All right. They're just circling the drain, but they have the appearance of still being alive because the machine is artificially pumping air into her lungs. So she appears to still be alive, but the Most High is about to pull the power cord out of the wall, and this hoe is about to go. O virgin daughter of Babylon. Why is she the virgin daughter of Babylon? Because they really were never touched by a major war. You had your little skirmishes here and there. You've had your, your civil wars. You had your Spanish-American War, so on and so forth. But nothing major has really happened here in America like it has happened in other places around the world. That's why she is known as the virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, right? Because your status, your empirical status is going to be taken. It's going to be demolished. The elder Gabar Yahweh, the United States, world's 10 largest importers, no country yearly import value, one United States, $2.4 trillion, right? They're one of the top. Let me see. America only assembles products, not makes products, right? That's how they become a consumer nation, and that's true. They make the parts because everything is outsourced now. They make the parts in other countries like Mexico, China, wherever, send them here and assemble them here, correct? And then it goes on to say, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Right? It says, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right? You're not going to have that prestige that you had. And this is why other nations, the scriptures say that the nations were going to hate you. They're going to hate the whore. Why? Because it says that his look was more stout than his fellows. Because of your wealth and your prestige at one time, you were looking down on everybody. But now everybody else is getting to the point where they're being sufficient financially, and now they're starting to look down on you. So let's jump down to the 7th verse. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, right? And I believe in Revelation 18, it spoke about her being a queen forever, if I'm not mistaken. If a brother knows what that scripture is. Let me see. The throne is a representation of rulership. Yep. The Lord has taken away the rulership from Edom. Yeah, that's right. Because they're the end of the world. It says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. And that's the key. They never remembered or considered the latter end of what would happen to them in the end. Salakia. All right. It says, therefore hear now this, thou that are given to pleasures. See? And why are they given to pleasures? Because of the wealth that they've amassed. And they have no borders. It says that dwellest carelessly, and they do dwell carelessly. That saith in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Yeah, because you even think that you are the Most High. It says, I shall not sit a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children, because these devils never think that they're going to fall. That's why it says that their inward thought is that their houses shall continue to all generations. It says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee, what? In their perfection. Why are they going to come to you in their perfection? Because the Most High is making everything work out perfectly. There's not going to be any flaw. There's not going to be anything that doesn't hit. Everything is going to hit its target. Every missile, every warhead is going to hit where the Lord wants it to hit. Because the Spirit of the Lord itself is going to be in it. So it's going to be like a guided missile that doesn't fail. For the multitude of thy sorceries, right? For all of your witchcrafts. They don't come out blatantly with it. But if you analyze what they do, everything goes back to some form of witchcraft, some form of old ancient deity, so-called God, that they worship, some form of religious rites, cults, from the past that they follow. And for their great abundance, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments, right? All of your sorcery, all of your witchcrafts. That's why you're being judged. You don't think you're going down, but you're going down. For thou hast, okay, so that is, verse 7. The brother put it up. Verse 7, that's what I wanted. It says, how much, Revelation 18:7, how much he hath glorified himself and lived deliciously. We're reading the same thing in Isaiah 47. They go hand in hand. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Is that not what we just read in the 8th verse of Isaiah 47? For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, right? Because you gained the wisdom of the world, knowledge of the world. You have everything. You have all the records. And all this stuff, all it did was pervert you. It says, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Yeah, because like I said before, the scripture said before, you think you're the Most High. You even go as far as saying, I will be like the Most High. And how is that? Look at everything that you're doing. You have this devil Yuval Harari talking about we don't need the Most High no more. We don't have to wait for the Messiah anymore. We don't have to be afraid of him anymore because we can make our own rain. We can grow our own crops. We can do this. We can make man live forever. Blah, 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 blah. Today, braggadocious right now. But in the apex of your pomposity, you shall be destroyed. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Right. Continue to try and put those spells and incantations, and witchcraft things that you do to keep your kingdom going. If so be thou may be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Right. So do those things. See if you're going to be able to continue on. You won't be able to. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Right. Because it's a constant thing, a constant barrage, a constant meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. Or what we going to do, how we going to do it, how we going to get this together. Are the bunkers ready? Yeah, they're ready. Is everything prepared? All right, what about, in case things go left? Do we have enough provisions for continuity of government? Yes, everything is in place. Blah, 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 blah. But once the shit goes down, you better be ready. You better be ready. Because it's over for you, E. It's over. It said, let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Right. Let all your sorcerers, your witchcraft, your witches put up their spells, look up into the heavens, read the heavens, try to find some type of solution, find some type of balm, let your forecasters try to forecast what's coming. They ain't going to be able to save you. Man, Satan, boy. Satan jumping on everybody. All right, inside joke. So it says, going down like in Vogue. Behold, they shall be as stubble. That's your future. Stubble. What creates stubble? Fire. They shall be as stubble. The word there is quash. Stubble, chaff. Right. And that's what you're going to be. You can read Isaiah the 34th chapter. That whole chapter is magnificent. Behold, they shall be a stubble, the fire shall burn them. When we read Job 20, it says that a fire not blown shall consume him. Meaning it's not going to be something that you start. Somebody's not going to get a fire accelerator, put or gasoline or put whatever, and put it on kerosene, put it on something, and light matches or lighter to start that fire. No. The Lord is going to do that fire. He going to bring that fire by way of those nuclear missiles. And then Yahushua said, I am come to bring fire on earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? So he's coming to bring more fire from the laser of the chariots. It says, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, right? Because there's nothing you could do to deliver yourself. Your kingdom and your empire will not survive. There shall not be a cold to warm it, nor fire to sit before it, right? Because this place is going to be totally annihilated from the east coast to the west coast, from the north to the south. All right? Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter. And that's why they're all leaving. These nations are leaving. None shall save thee. Yeah, you ain't going to be able to get help from your own or from abroad. It's over, E. It's over. Let me get this one this brother put up. This is Job 27:19. The rich man shall lie down, but he shall not be gathered. Right. He openeth his eyes, and he is not. It says, terrors take hold on him as waters. A tempest stealeth him away in the night. Yeah, and that's why Yahushua said he's coming as a thief in the night. That's why he said, blessed are ye that watch and keep your garments. All right. So yeah, man, this devil's going down. Nothing stays the same. All things return to their origins. So once this shithole goes down, then the real deal is going to come up, which is the kingdom of heaven. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai ruling, and the Israelites, us ruling with them. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.